Hey class, Miss Anderson here. Today we're going to go over some prereq information for geometry. So we're going to call it Geometry Unit 0. And we're going to focus on using the distributive property, combining like terms, and trying to solve an equation. So our essential question is solving equations. We'll just keep it basic. So the first step, look for any distribution if necessary, combine like terms that are on the same side of the equal, and then use your inverse operations to solve. So let's just go through a couple examples. So here's example 1. I always like to draw this line that kind of symbolizes my two sides of the equation, and then I'm going to get my variable by itself, the x there, so I have to use inverse operations to do that. And so I want to get rid of a plus 5, and the inverse operation of adding 5 is to subtract 5. So I'm going to have to subtract 5 here, but to keep this equation balanced, whatever you do to the left, remember you have to do to the right. So you're going to subtract 5 from both sides. This is going to give you 0. So on this side you have 4x equals 9 minus 5 is also 4. And then we have to remember that 4x really means 4 times x. So the inverse of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by 4 on both sides, keeping our equation balanced. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. 4 divided by 4 gives me a 1x, which I typically just write as x, and 4 divided by 4 equals 1. So our answer for that one is x equals 1. All right, in number 2, we have an x over 4 equals negative 3. What we need to remember here is that the over the fraction bar is really the same thing as division. So a fraction represents division. The inverse of division is multiplication. So we have to multiply by 4, and we have to make sure to do that to both sides, and that simplifies this because really we end up with a 4 divided by 4 again, which gives us a 1x. So here we get x, and negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Okay, for this example, we have two x terms on the same side of the equal. Notice they're both on the right side here, so we can combine like terms. So 8x minus 3x is 5x. And then this is 5 times x, so to get x to a 1x, we're going to divide by 5. And 10 divided by 5 gives me 2. 5 divided by 5 gives me 1x. So x equals 2. Number 4, there's a couple different ways to work with fractions. First, you can just work with inverse operations, so subtract 2 on both sides. And then we're left with 3/4 x equals negative 1 minus 2 more gives you negative 3. So be careful with those negatives. And then you can do the fraction in one step. So multiply both sides by the reciprocal, 4/3. And then it's top times top, bottom times bottom. On the other side, I put the 3 over 1 to make it a fraction, because then it's top times top over bottom times bottom. And then reduce. 12 divided by 12 is just 1. Negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. You could do this in 2 steps as well. So if you want to go back up to this step, if you did 3/4 x equals negative 3, instead just take and multiply both sides by 4. That gets rid of the divide by 4. So then you get 3x equals negative 12. Then take it a second step and divide by 3. You end up with the same answer. So whatever one you're more comfortable with. Okay, for this one, we want to distribute the 5 into the parentheses because that's the distributive property, and we're going to do that first. So 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 2 is 10. That's equal to 15. Then we're going to use our inverse operations. The inverse of positive 10 is negative 10 or minus 10. And then bring this down. 10 minus 10 is 0. 15 minus 10 is 5. Then that's 5 times x. So we're going to divide by 5 on both sides. And you're going to be left with x equals 1. Okay. For this one, we're going to distribute. The negative is going to go along with the 3. Negative 3 times 4x is going to give you negative 12x. Remember, a negative times a negative is going to give you a positive, and 3 times 8 is 24, equals negative 36. Then the inverse of adding 24 will be subtracting 24, so that we are left with just negative 12x on this side. And negative 36 minus 24, let's see, negative 60. And then we're going to divide by negative 12, because negative 12x is multiplication to leave us with x. And a negative divided by a negative leaves me with a positive answer, and 12 fits into 65 times, I believe. Okay, a couple more here. So for this one, it looks like we have a couple like terms on the left side of our equation here. So we're going to be able to combine those, and we have a positive 8 and a positive 7. So that's going to be 15. So you're going to have a 2x and a positive 15. And then I'm just going to leave this side the same for now. Now notice that we have x's on both sides of our equation, and this one's unique. So we need to have all our x's on one side of the equation. You can either move the 2x this way or the 4x this way. It doesn't matter. Now, I found that most students really prefer to have the variable on the left side, so I'm going to move it to the left. Since it's a positive 4x, we'll have to subtract. And 2x minus 4x is going to be negative 2x plus 15 equals, and then that gets rid of 4x minus 4x is 0. And so we have 3 left. Now it's the same steps as before. So it's positive 15. We're going to get all of our, since we moved our variables to the left, we have to move our constants to the right so that we can isolate that variable by itself. So 15 minus 15 is 0. You got negative 2x equals 3 minus 15 will be negative 12. Divide by negative 2. X is going to give you 6. Okay, that one's similar. I think I'm going to maybe do one more here. Okay, so we got negative. So this side, nothing combined. So on the right side, though, I can distribute this negative 7. Negative 7 times 8 is going to be negative 56x. Negative times negative is going to give you positive 42. And then the 3 is on the outside of the parentheses, so I'm not going to distribute to that. Okay, then I can combine these because they're both constant terms, so I'm going to leave my variables alone. 42 plus 3 is 45. Now I have x's on both sides, so I need to move all my x's to one side. Since it's a negative 56, I'm going to add 56 x's to both terms. And notice that I add it to the like term, so I line it up with the term on the other side that has an x. And then that leaves me with negative 16 plus 61x equals 45. Then it's a negative 16 here, so the inverse of minus 16 is plus 16. So I'm going to add that to both sides. I'm going to get 61x equals 61. That worked out pretty well. Divide on both sides, and we get x equals 1. Okay. If you need some more help with this still, let me know, but try your practice and see how it goes. It's just a quick video to get you through if you missed class.